So I'm Reverend Bonnie, the community spiritual leader here, in case you don't know who I am. And last month, we talked about the continuity of life and life everlasting. And today is the celebration of Dia de los Muertos. And so I have my little skeleton, and we've got our honorary skeleton up there. So we're celebrating today those who have gone before us, as we move into a month where our topic is In All Things Give Thanks. So that song couldn't have been better. She started off with thanking the bullies even in our lives. So all of this that creates who we are today, we can give thanks for that. So in all things, give thanks. That phrase, I looked up where it actually came from, is from the Christian scriptures in Thessalonians 5:18. And I found a lot of different interpretations of that, a little slight variations, and it has the complete context for that sentence. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus, and that's the New International Version. Be thankful in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you who belong to Christ Jesus, the New Living Translation. And this is the Aramaic Bible. Give thanks in everything, for this is the will of God in Yeshua, the Messiah, among you. There's all different variations, but basically saying the same kind of thing. And so as we think about people who've passed, today we're thinking about death in some ways, and we thought about it last month. It came to me this thought, so do you really mean right now I should give thanks in this situation? And if we look at those translations, it actually says it's God's will. And then as metaphysicians, we look at that idea of in Christ Jesus as being in the Christ consciousness that we have within us. And we think about God's will as being how it is that we naturally express when we are in alignment with that Christ consciousness. And so as I thought about this, I started looking at, well, what exactly does this mean? And I realized that it doesn't say give thanks for all circumstances. It says give thanks in all circumstances. So what's the difference? And what does this really mean? This is what we all get to contemplate this month. So when we're thinking about Dia de los Muertos and those who have passed in our lives and those who have gone before us, I thought this would be a great thing to think about. The highest tribute to the dead is not grief, but gratitude. That's Thornton Wilder. So as you think about your ancestors and those who have gone before you and all those in our past, even those that we might not have felt grateful for in the moment, what are you grateful for now? As you look back at your ancestors, what are you thankful for? And then last month, I talked about the timeline in the way that I saw it. So I was looking at the past, everything from birth until where we are today, bringing that into the present as it was informing our future. And so Melody Beatty says, gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. Isn't that beautiful? So as I contemplate this idea, in all things give thanks. I've been thinking about it here, knowing that this was the topic, and it came to me that there's actually 3 different ways, and I wasn't exactly sure of what the word was, so I thought of 3 different uses, 3 different results, 3 different benefits of gratitude in our life. And they come from expressing gratitude for what has been, expressing gratitude for what we already have, and that's what we have comes from where we've been. So looking at that through the eyes of gratitude. And then in the now, having gratitude help us shift our present mood. Some might even say their vibration, how they're feeling in the presence, in the midst of all circumstances. And then the third use is envisioning and creating our future. So I'm going to start with the past. As we think back on people who've given us things or the things that we've experienced, I would imagine that you'll agree with me that if we give something to someone and they give thanks for that, it's easier to want to give them something again than if they didn't say thank you, right? So one of the things I know gratitude is helpful with and good for is keeping us in that flow of giving and receiving. As we receive, we give gratitude, we say thank you, and then we give out, and that flow continues to happen. And so I found another quote by Edwin Arlington Robinson. There are two kinds of gratitude: the sudden kind we feel for what we take or receive, and the larger kind we feel when we give. That giving out. And we often talk about tithing as giving back to Spirit, giving thanks back to Spirit. Wherever we've been fed spiritually, we tithe to as a sign of gratitude to, again, continue keeping that flow moving. And then as we look into the past, I also think another way that gratitude helps is it helps us to shift how we feel about the past. So if we look back at our life, it came to me, instead of just making a timeline about everything that's happened, maybe this month take the time to make that timeline of your life, putting down those key events, key decisions that you made, experiences that you had, and then go back through and for each one of them find something that you're grateful for. And then go back through, because you might have missed a few things you're actually really grateful for, and add those in. Just straight up, I'm grateful for this when this happened and this when this happened. And as you do that, I think it's a way to help us heal our past. It's a way to help us look at it through a different light. Ernest Holmes from the Science of Mind text, and this is on page 447 if you want to find it, he said, "If we wish to come to the Spirit for healing of our wounds, let us come in peace and with spontaneous joy, for the Spirit is joy. Let us come with thanksgiving also, for a thankful heart is in harmony with life." So as part of the healing process, as we're coming to Spirit wanting to heal whatever's gone on in our past, if we can come in gratitude and with thanksgiving, it actually helps that process move along. It helps lift us out of those resentments, and it helps us rewrite our story. I talked about rewriting our story last month. And I realized as I look back with gratitude, it helps me shift the story. It helps me write it in a different way. And I also found, because believe it or not, before I ask you all to do an exercise, I actually try it out. So I put myself through this in the last couple weeks. And I noticed what was happening is it kind of cleared a pathway, and forgiveness started to happen all by itself. So I didn't have to consciously go in there and say, I want to forgive this person for whatever. Instead, I looked at the event, looked for what I could be grateful for, and forgiveness just started to slide in there on the side. So I'm starting to see, and I've said this before, that forgiveness is sort of a byproduct of us doing the healing work, of us seeing our past and our life through a different light. So as we look to the past with gratitude, it helps us to shift and clear the way and allow forgiveness to just take place. And as we're grateful for what we have, what happens is gratitude turns what we have into enough. Now that's another quote, and it was attributed to Anonymous. But I liked that. Gratitude turns what we have into enough. So just like gratitude can shift our perspective of the past, it can also help us shift our perspective of what's going on in those circumstances right now. It can help us shift our mood, our vibration, our perspective of what's going on. So you've all heard it said, what we resist persists, right? And what I started to see here over the last couple of weeks, that's true not only of situations and things, but those thoughts that are going on in our head, any negativity or worry or rumination. If I try to force them to stop, I'm resisting them, they keep persisting. Has anyone tried to force yourself to stop worrying when you're worrying? Stop ruminating or catastrophizing? I've discovered it doesn't work so well. So I was struggling with this. I had some thoughts, going around up in there. And as I was having that experience, the phrase of what this topic was going to be this month, "In all things give thanks," went through my head, and I was like, really? Right now? I'm supposed to give thanks. And then I went, oh. So it seems counterintuitive, but in the midst of everything, give thanks. And so once again, I decided to try it and see what would happen. I wasn't able to sleep at this point. All this stuff was going on. Have you ever had that where all the stuff is going on and you're trying to sleep? So I thought, okay, in the midst of this, right now, start giving thanks. And so I pulled out an old tool that I learned in Codependence Anonymous, and that's the ABCs of gratitude, because I couldn't really just go, I'm feeling really grateful right now. So I thought, okay, something with an A that I feel grateful for, something with a B that I feel grateful for, something with a C that I feel grateful for. And later, when I woke up, I realized I only made it to G before I fell asleep. So it shifted. It helped move what was going on in my thinking. Likewise, Ernest Holmes has another example in the Science of Mind text. Again, if you're wanting to look these up, 256 is the page. And this is in relation to treating stomach and bowel problems. And he says there's no organ in the body that is more quickly upset by a disturbed mental condition than the stomach. Even those who do not habitually say grace before meals would do well to lift their thought in thanksgiving, putting aside all thought of worry, distrust, and anxiety, and thereby ensure a wonderful digestion, a perfect aid to assimilation. So what he's basically saying there is that shifting our thought into thanksgiving can, again, set aside that worry, that distrust, whatever's going on, the anxiety, that moving into thanksgiving helps with that. And if you're having issues with your stomach, try that before you eat. So whether we're in the midst, whatever those circumstances are, of things that are causing digestive trouble or insomnia, using gratitude and shifting our thinking into gratitude is a tool that helps lift us out of that place and into a place that I find a lot more comfortable. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to try something. Just go within for a moment and check in. And on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being pretty lousy and 10 being pretty great, how are you feeling right now? And now, in your mind's eye, you can either do this by writing on the bulletin that you've been given where there's a note page, or you can just do it in your head. Start thinking of all the things you can think of to be grateful for. And if you need to use the tool of the ABCs, you can do that as well. Just start thinking of those things that you're grateful for. Just let them come to your mind. Jot them down if you'd like. So now check in on 1 to 10. Where are you on that scale? If you were already a 10, are you a 10 plus? Did it help to move you up the scale a little bit to start thinking about what you're grateful for? So that's a tool, something that I find really helped. I thought of it as my game changer. It really helped me to shift. And so what I saw is that giving thanks turned the resistance that I was feeling in whatever circumstance into release. I was able to shift because I started journaling around what's the difference between resistance and release? What does that look like? And I realized that gratitude is part of what helped me move out of resistance to whatever that circumstance might have been, and to my thoughts around it, because then you get into, stop being so negative, and I'm resisting the negativity. So shifting into gratitude moved me out of resistance into release, where I could really let it go. And as we say, let God. And so I discovered that in the Buddhist tradition, there's this teaching that gratitude is one of, excuse me, I'm grateful that this cold is really on the way out. Gratitude is one of the sweet shortcuts to finding peace of mind and happiness inside. No matter what is going on inside of us, there's always something to be grateful for. And then I found one that I thought, if that doesn't work for you, this is a little different way to look at it. This is a Yiddish proverb out of the Jewish tradition. If you cannot be grateful for what you've received, then be thankful for what you've been spared. Yeah. So again, as we think about it, in all things give thanks, allowing that release to resistance to take place, allowing ourselves to resist the circumstances, or release that resistance of the circumstances and release the worry and the anxiety. And I found doing this really felt like a load had been set down. I felt a lot lighter once I started exercising this practice. So once that is done, or sometimes to help in that process, there is what we call prayer, spiritual mind treatment, or co-creating what we want to see, something better in our life. And Ernest Holmes describes it this way: we have no record of Jesus asking God to do anything, except in the Garden of Gethsemane. Aside from this instance, Jesus' method of approach during his entire ministry was to give thanks and then command the law to work. And so what Ernest Holmes has put into our science of mind treatment process is that command time, we call it realization, and then giving thanks. Now, those are reversed, and I know some people following this are shifting that when they do treatment now, and they're starting with gratitude. Giving thanks and then commanding the law as we create our future. So this is a way that we can use gratitude to help us create our future. Ernest Holmes also said that the practitioner with a small piece, so that means all of us, those of us who are using these ideas and principles in our life, the practitioner, of course, gives thanks as he or she makes their demand on the infinite, knowing that supply and demand are one, and that their request is instantly manifest on the invisible plane. And so I know as I've taught spiritual mind treatment over the years, some people are a little stumped by that idea. Why are we giving thanks when it hasn't already happened yet? Because that Thanksgiving part is in the 5-step process of affirmative prayer that we teach. And this is why. What he's saying is it's already instantly manifest on the invisible plane. And so again, it might feel a little counterintuitive to be giving thanks for something that's still on the invisible plane. But if you think back to the way gratitude worked on the first 2 examples that I gave, as we're looking at our past, as we're looking at current circumstances, what gratitude did was shift our mood. It shifted our vibration, and it shifts our focus. So as we're looking to our future, we're looking to create something different in our future, gratitude and giving thanks shifts us out of a place of lack and want and need, and it shifts us to that place where we already feel the gratitude of receiving and having all that we need, already knowing on that deep level that our good is already ours. And so, again, gratitude helps us to shift that sense of feeling around what it is that we're doing. And Ernest Holmes talked about the importance of the feeling that we have when we do affirmative prayer. We have to feel it in order for it to actually manifest. So not only is gratitude then something that helps us create a vision for our future, but it actually helps us shift and move into that creative process. So we're actually creating our future. We're creating that good and bringing it into our life. We're shifting our fears and our circumstances into a place of faith, into a place of knowing, and into a place of belief. So I noticed as I was doing the research, I was looking at different faith traditions for their quotes on gratitude. And I noticed that giving thanks and being grateful is an integral part of all of these faith traditions. And I found plenty of other writers, what we would call secular writers, that also spoke to the importance of gratitude in our lives and the value that it serves. And so I also like this perspective. This is Albert Schweitzer. At times our light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person, each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. And as I thought about those who had lighted the flame lighters, I thought they could be someone in our past, like the teachers, Jesus, Muhammad, Emma Curtis Hopkins, the Fillmores, Ernest Holmes, or it could be a friend or family member, someone who's helped us to keep that flame lit. And so I want to let you know that several weeks ago, if you were here, you all saw fit to share your appreciation with me and your gratitude to me as your community spiritual leader. And at that time, my flame was a little low. That Sunday was a hard Sunday inside. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cry. I practiced this and I didn't cry once. But your gratitude rekindled my flame and just got it. Oh, it was so amazing. It was so wonderful to feel that. And what I realized is that your gratitude toward me just created more gratitude in me for all of you. And I started thinking about that. Thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. But in all seriousness, I am so grateful for this community, for all of you, and the way that you keep my flame lit. And as I've been processing this topic, I'm also really grateful for how gratitude works and what it does in my life. So whether you're revisiting your past and looking at it through the eyes of gratitude, whether you're honoring your ancestors and seeing great gratitude for them and the paths that have been laid before us, whether you're in the midst of a challenging circumstance right now, or whether you're treating for, envisioning, and co-creating an amazing future. Really? Do we give thanks now? Yes, and so it is.